Good morning. Happy Tuesday. I am doing Facebook Live today from the Aria Hotel in Las Vegas, where I'm attending the Inman Connect conference. And the conference is behind me, a ways behind me. Looking forward to the conference, walk the floor. All the vendors are set up. It's always so fun going to a conference, especially before it starts. It has so much promise and so much positive energy. There are people that come here to learn and people that come here to teach and vendors that come here to sell, people that come here to connect. It's always so fun. So here I am in Las Vegas, I think for my fourth conference this year in Las Vegas, or fifth conference. Today I am kicking off a new series within my Facebook Live series, and that's going to be Technology Tuesdays. And just a quick thank you. Today is day 60 of my Facebook Live path. As you know, if you've checked this out, I'm on a 90-day challenge. I'm two-thirds of the way through it. Challenges me to go live every day for 15 minutes. I've done it for 60 days. I got 30 more to do, and quite a few of you asked me what happens after that. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. But I'm going to add Technology Tuesdays, which I'm really looking forward to talking about. You can't really be a strategist or a futurist if you don't talk about technology. So that's adding to my New Normal Thursdays, my new notable news on Saturdays, and book club on Sundays. So we now have 4 formal days as during the week. Heck, by the time I get done with this, I'll probably have 7 formal days. So, I've been on the conference, the seminar conference circuit. I'm doing one almost definitely every month, sometimes 2 a month. And inevitably at every conference, part or even all of it, like the one I just came from, is about technology. And so different here. Today, there's a 4-hour block blocked out today for technology here at the Inman Conference on the main stage. Last week, I was in Dallas at the Housing Wire AI Summit, which was fantastic. Thank you guys at Housing Wire. Thank you, Clayton. It was great, where we did nothing but technology. Even earlier at the gathering, that was a lot about technology. All these conferences are talking about technology. And so I'm eager to kind of share my views on where we're at on technology. And some of this, a lot of this is going to be kind of some of perspectives coming from the AI Summit. Now, I could have possibly, summarized the AI Summit here in 10 or 15 minutes, but I do want to start talking about concepts, and I will start rolling out really bite-sized concepts every Tuesday. So let's start with this, with technology. Our industries, I say real estate and mortgage, we have a love, hate relationship with technology, and it's completely understandable. And why we have this love, hate relationship with technology is because it's largely not delivered what it promised. It certainly hasn't delivered the ROI, and it certainly hasn't delivered the roadmap. I can't tell you how many times when I've been a part of purchasing technology and the vendor puts a roadmap in front of me, and that roadmap is never, ever achieved. Not even like the first stop of the roadmap isn't achieved. And at the same time, 100 other priorities hit the roadmap, getting rid of the original priorities. And it's just this horrible circle of you don't get what you want. So, that's why we have this natural dislike for technology. And then on top of that, and if we're going to look at that, I posed this question the other day to a group of people. Why is it that technology hasn't worked? And there's 3 things. It's leadership, it's employee, or it's the technology. Now, you can argue it's leadership, because if your company isn't prepared to roll out a technology, it doesn't matter how good it is, it won't work, right? And so you have to create an atmosphere, an environment, and a culture that wants technology. And so as a leader, you have to be a really clear communicator, and you have to really, give the vision and the why. Your people have to trust you, to follow you. You have to have shared values. If shared values is we want to be the very best, and technology helps us be the very best, you have to have a values alignment. Your people have to agree with that, or else we're not going to go through the pain of adopting the technology. And then what's your training strategy, and what's your adoption strategy? How are you pushing adoption? And then in the end, are the leaders using the technology? Are they leading on the technology? So there's all sorts of leadership failures. I would say leadership is a big part of it. All those things I just listed under leadership are a big part of it. And then you have employee challenges, right? And once again, that goes back to your value prop. If your value prop is you let your employees do whatever they want, if you just go, hey, look, they're independent contractors. My goal is to get as much business from them as possible and stay out of their way. If you have, and that's another way of saying you don't have standards. If you have no standards, then you have a really hard time rolling out a technology because that becomes a standard, right? And some companies, their only standard is you have to use our POS system. Now, honestly, there's companies that say you don't have to use my POS system. You use yours, we'll figure it out. But if you have no standards, then you're gonna have a hard time rolling out technology because you don't have influence your people and your people aren't following you. But let's pretend that that's not the problem. Employees are going to resist. They're like, hey, I've driven a horse and buggy my whole life. It gets me to work in like 20 minutes. I don't need a car. I don't need a train. I don't need a plane. Quit that nonsense. Get out of my way. My clients don't want it. Nobody wants it. It doesn't work. And then they pick it apart and they try to make it fail. And especially if the employee might be on the fulfillment or admin side where they fear the technology is going to replace them. Well, then they have an incentive to not roll out that technology. And so you have to figure out how you have positive incentives, and you got to figure out how you're a leader and you lead people into the technology that doesn't threaten their job, right? And so the employee could be part of the problem. And you might not have technically, people that like technology, they just resist. They're not real tech enabled. And then what's your training program for them? And then of course there's the technology's own problem, which is that it doesn't work a lot of times, right? They overpromise, they oversell. And here in the downturn, they've had to cut expenses like everybody else. So they're underfunded, they're understaffed, they have complicated problems. There's hundreds of different technologies that lay on top of one another in the mortgage space. It's super complicated on how to do it. So all those things are headwinds. But here's my premise, and here's what I hope you'll join me at this point. While I believe that technology has been a failed promise for the last 2 decades, honestly, it won't be going forward. We have to turn the corner from being a failed promise to a promising future. And we have to let the baggage go and go, no, today's a new day. We're having technology breakthroughs everywhere. And technology is now starting to become mainstream. I was talking to an owner the other day, and I asked this question, and they were resistant to technology, which I totally understand. And I asked them, what happens when we hit the tipping point when the majority of the industry now has a technology that you won't accept? How do you recruit then? How do you have a recruit that goes, hey, gosh, do you guys have the newest flavor of ice cream? And you go, no, I don't believe in that flavor. We're not going to have it. And they go, gosh, most of the industry has it. It's changing the world. You don't have it? It's going to be really hard to get people to join your company if you don't step into the new age, right? And so we have to start embracing the promise of technology, and we got to tear the scabs off and the scars off that we've just been killed by technology in the past. And in fact, when we hit the downturn here in 2022, the most responsible thing to do was to shut off all the technology that didn't work that was costing you a fortune, right? And a small company is spending tens of thousands of dollars a month on technology. A mid-sized company is spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a month on technology. I don't mean on developing, I just mean on running it and supporting it. And a large company is spending millions of dollars a month. And so it was really easy to go, gosh, we got to cut expenses. Let's cut that technology where only 10% of our people are using it, whether it's good or bad, right? And that was a responsible thing to do. And I think you always have to do that. If you're not getting the most out of technology, then you got to cut it. And so that's one of the things too. You got to put some sort of grade or scorecard on technology. What's the ROI? What's the adoption rate? How's it driving retention? How's it driving customer satisfaction? Those type of things. You got to figure out a scorecard. And if your technology doesn't score well on your scorecard, cut it. Just cut it, right? But that shouldn't keep you from trying to keep investing in new technology. So that's the first thing is, gosh, we have to get over the mindset that technology has been a large failure for 20 years, and we have to start embracing technology. Now, here's the first steps of embracing technology. It's another thing. You don't have to go whole hog. You don't have to go, you don't wake up one day and go, hey, I'm going to, my company is, or as a loan officer or a real estate agent, I'm going to be the leading technology person in the world. Starting today, I'm going to go buy every technology. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to get it all to work, and I'm going to totally change my company. I don't think it works that way. I think instead it's baby steps. It's first it's mindset, right? And then it's baby steps. And part of those baby steps are making sure you're doing the leadership to get your company or your team or your partners or your clients to follow you, right? You have to do the preliminary work so that when you get the technology, everybody's pulling on the same side of the rope. So that's baby steps. So here's the first thing: create a roadmap for yourself. What's your strategy? All right, let's say I'm a mortgage company, and let's say I have hardly any technology, and I go, well, gosh, I gotta get a vision myself of what the technology is going to be. What am I going to use technology for, right? And I want to say a quick thing about technology, and I've commented on this before. Right now the words AI or artificial intelligence are very sexy, and so somebody's slapping that AI brand on everything. It's like you can go buy an AI, enabled box of Wheaties. I don't know what AI has to do with Wheaties. I don't know what AI has to do with most of this stuff. And most of the time when we use the word AI, we are completely misusing that word, because what's really the explosion around us isn't artificial intelligence. The explosion around us is basic technology. And so don't get caught up like I got to go figure out an AI machine, right? Because most technology that's starting to get a return on investment that's really driving a result is, RPA. It's more computing rules. It's machine learning. It's things like, adding technologies like OCR. I know those are a bunch of words, but none of those are a bunch of letters, but none of those are artificial intelligence. None of that is. Rules-based computing has been around forever. It's not artificial intelligence, right? Even AI is mostly predictive analytics. What word fits the best next? That's it, right? No magic woohoo. It's all just basic computing. And so one thing, the technology around us using computing rules, using RPA, using things like OCR, those are super basic, easy to deploy. Starting to get into machine learning gets a little bit more complicated, and then when you truly want to get into generative AI, totally different scale, but you don't have to go to generative AI. Start with something really simple, start with something really easy. But what you got to do is you got to first go roadmap. Where am I headed with this AI? Where am I headed with this technology thing? Right. And I think if you're in mortgage, that you kind of break it into three buckets. You go, can I use technology to enhance my sales? And that is to generate more sales, right? Can I help him? Can I help him to make sales more efficient, the origination process more efficient, right? To assist my loan officers in taking applications and delighting customers, right? And when I put sales too, I'm going to say customer retention. Can I use technology to help me better understand and serve my customers, to be speed to need, not speed to lead, as Dave Savage would say? Can I deploy technology to drive my business? That's the first part. Now, by the way, I think that's a no-brainer. I think, honestly, you can't compete in the world if you don't start stepping into those type of technologies, but that's just my opinion. The second technology bucket is fulfillment, right? And here's the thing about fulfillment. I was at the Housing Wire AI conference last week, and Michael Sachdeb, and Michael, if I said your name wrong, I apologize, from SnapDocs, had a fantastic presentation. And I don't understand exactly how he had this presentation, because I don't know what SnapDocs says, so maybe I need to learn some technology. But he had a great presentation on technology and AI. And what he did is he broke down a P&L. He's like, applying technology to your P&L. Where's the lowest hanging fruit to save money and to deploy technology? And what he suggested is you could cut roughly 15 to 20% of your overall cost in the total loan stack. And the overall cost is $13,000, or is 11,000, it's somewhere between 11 and 13, depending on what kind of company you have, right? That you can cut about 15 to 20% of that just deploying simple technologies to your fulfillment. So he thought that was the lowest hanging fruit. And he has all these great slides. And maybe if I was at my computer, I would share them with you versus on my phone. But he had all these really great slides, powerful slides about his argument. And then he also did a loose roadmap. Like, here are future areas that you will be able to probably save money, but here's the things that have to happen before you can go get those areas. Really, really interesting, right? And so fulfillment is the second bucket. Now, fulfillment is actually where there's the easiest technology to deploy, right? Because fulfillment now has things like machine learning or RPA or OCR, right? I mean, it's not complicated technology that it's very easy for the computer to recognize a document, to read the document, to upload that, convert that static information on a PDF or whatever it's on, convert it to digital information, and then to put it into the right places in an application. Like, that's not difficult technology. That technology, nor is not, and it's not untested. That works, right? So it can recognize a document, it can index a document, it can, you know, get the information from the document, it can put it into your POS and OS systems in the right places. Really simple. And there's relatively inexpensive technologies for that, and there are tons of vendors. Really easy, right? No, I'm saying it's easy, but that's not complicated. And then, of course, there's all sorts of now machine learning and rules-based computing that can take that information and get you underwriting decisions. And that's also been around now for a few years too, and it's being perfected and it's getting pretty good. So you can use these things. You can use, and on top of that now, you're getting more and more data repositories that's getting you better information, right? You can get direct feeds from the IRS. You have all sorts of options now to get better data, and you can even use. I'm not going to geek out on it so much, but you can create, cash flow analysis from bank statements that Fannie and Freddie accept. There's so much out there. Now, when I say this, though, it doesn't work if you don't adopt it. Like, if you can't get your people to embrace this and use it, doesn't work, right? But so second bucket is fulfillment. And the third bucket is, I'm gonna call it administration. It's all those things like your HR department, it could be employee engagement, let's call it business intelligence, all that kind of stuff is also available. So three buckets. You got to figure out which bucket you're going to do. And get a roadmap for each bucket. Like, get a strategy. Like, here's what my company's going to do. I'm gonna dip my toe in kind of the sales stuff, how to drive sales. I'm gonna go whole hog maybe in fulfillment, maybe, or partial, right? Not even whole hog. And then I'm just gonna explore this whole admin thing. How can I enrich my company, right? Now, I said this before. You don't have to go whole hog. And I'm gonna just give really simple. I'm gonna give a simple technology example, because it's not like, gosh, I got to go buy the biggest technology. I got to go roll it out. It's, oh my gosh, this is overwhelming. It's baby steps, right? It's baby steps. And so the first thing you get your roadmap. And by the way, you get a environment and cultural strategy. And then you start going, okay, how do we start dipping our toe in it? And the first thing you have to do is you got to learn. Somebody in your company has to go, and you have to put somebody as a point person to research technology and to be the advocate for technology. Because if you're not being exposed to it, you don't know what's out there. And you can't just talk to your local vendor, because they may not have the best stuff and they may not have the best deal, and they might try to keep you away from their competitors. You have to get out and you have to go and learn. And the cheapest way is go yourself. Like a C-suite, and preferably the CEO, needs to go out and start learning about technology and really getting exposed to a lot of it. Now, have a critical eye, really, bang it hard, see if it's going to work for you. But you got to get out there. Now, here's the tip. Now, I'm gonna offend a few of my friends, and I apologize, but understand I'm making fun of myself. So I'm gonna say this humorous thing, but it's not so humorous. In that, if the person that has final say of your technology, if their formative years with technology was using the IBM Selectric typewriter, then you should have closed your company, right? The person who has final say, whether it's the owner or the CFO or the CSO or the CIO, whoever has final say, they better be a super technology enthusiast. And the person that's their main exposure to technology was using a typewriter isn't that person. And so if you put that person in charge of technology, make a different choice, right? Make a different choice. You still need their sage advice, you still need their opinion, but they cannot be in charge, because any logical or wise person can make an argument why not to deploy the technology, why it won't work, why it's too early, why it's going to cost too much, why your employees aren't going to adopt it, right? Because they're not the enthusiasts. You have to get an advocate that has say, right? And then that advocate needs to go out there and find the technology you should deploy, and should help you create the roadmap. And they should drag the owner, the CEO, the president, the key people to the places that are, have technology, they're demonstrating technology, so that you get alignment, right? Because for technology to work, the C-suite has to lead by using it first. But that's the first thing. And by the way, I'm saying, I'm going to alienate some of my friends. I'm probably in that boat, right? My first use of technology was an IBM Selectric. I made that joke joking about myself. So for my friends, don't take offense. uh, but so you go out there and learn. Like go to places like conferences. Now you know what? This is another thing. Total side note: conferences are dying. They're having a hard time getting butts in seats. It's a very hard market. First, participants, whether it's real estate or mortgage, they can't afford to go to the conference. Second, they don't want to leave market for 2 or 3 days. You don't want to lose traction. They're all in, leaning into the market. And then third, they're overwhelmed with the things they already have to do. There's no space to go learn more. And so the result are these conferences are empty. I would say that this conference here is probably going to be 25% of the size that it normally is. And that's true with most conferences. I go to a lot of conferences, and by and large, they are very under attended. Now, I will tell you the Housing Wire conference was sold out. What does that tell you? They sold out early. There was not a seat available. There was standing room only. Like 50 people in the back room had to stand the whole time. But by and large, most conferences, it's very lightly attended. And I wonder why. I get it, but we need to go out there and learn. And we're not going to get new solutions if we don't learn, and especially as it relates to technology, right? So get out to conferences, right? You can have vendors come to you, but that's not enough. Go to your competitors that have deployed the technology and see how it's working, right? We all know each other. We're networked. Go to the big companies. Go to the people that are aggressive in technology. Because and this is another thing. It's not just the big companies that are rolling out technologies. I've talked to a lot of small business owners, mortgage company owners, and they're using technology in a delightful way. They're very aggressive with technology. Mid-sized companies, and you know what? It starts with the strategy. What's my roadmap, right? So go out there and learn, figure it out. What's going on, and then. But I'm gonna use an example. I'm gonna wrap this. I'm gonna use an example. Let's just pretend. Let's use this sexy, incorrectly used words, artificial intelligence. Let's say you want to create AI. Well, in the mortgage space, what companies are doing first with AI is they're creating a help desk or they're creating a product scenario desk, right? And here's where I'm going to use this as just a really simple example to understand. And when I say that, you've seen all sorts of companies like Guild. Guild has Guild GPT. United Wholesale Mortgage has UWM GPT. I believe NFM has NFM GPT, right? And so they're creating what they're calling their own GPT, right? But I want to use a really simple example. Here's what each of them rolled out first. Now, of those companies I mentioned, they have massive other technology. So I'm not trying to say this is their only technology. I'm just using an easy example. So let's say, gosh, I'm a small company. Let's say I'm a small company. I'm doing 100 loans a month, 200 loans a month, and I go, I want to embrace technology. How can I use chat? How can I use GPT? How can I use generative AI? Well, here's the first thing. I go, okay, look, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna lead my company into having like a loan scenario desk where a loan officer can just conversationally put in their characteristics of the borrower, and the machine is going to tell me, the roadmap, like what are the best products, what are the options, why one's better than another, those type of things. Let's just pretend that's my goal, and I advocate for baby steps. So here's the first thing. Watch this. Put a loan scenario into ChatGPT and see what it says. Because you know what? 30% loan officers started ChatGPT to get a loan scenario, right? ChatGPT has every guideline. So, baby step is let's just see what Chat can do, right? And that's the start. That's not hard. And then, have your underwriter assign an underwriter and go, hey, can you put these 50 scenarios in ChatGPT and see if it's correct? You'll be surprised with the answer. The answer is probably yes. So you're starting with the basic foundation now. Next, you go, well, gosh, it has Fannie guidelines, but we have overlays. You know what? Upload your overlays into ChatGPT. Go, hey, Chat, we want to use you as our product engine, as our loan scenario desk. Uh, I understand you have all these guidelines, but I need to give you my overlays. Please take these into account when you give me feedback on Fannie. So you can upload all your overlays. Pretty simple, right? So now you have the basic guidelines that Chat already has. You can put in your overlays. Now it's speaking specifically to your employees. And then you know what? If you have specific, proprietary loan programs, or if you have one-off loan programs, upload the guidelines in the ChatGPT. Not that hard, right? And so and what I'm saying, this is a way for a baby step. Now, is this significant? No. But does it get you on your path? Yes, right? Next, okay, so look, I tested ChatGPT. It seems to be okay on guidelines. I uploaded my overlays. I uploaded my proprietary products, and now Chat has a pretty good resource, right? And so now, you know what? I'm gonna test it. I'm gonna have my loan officer start using it and giving me feedback. You can do that today. Any company can do that today. That won't, I mean, you got to buy an enterprise license, but it's not a big deal, right? And you don't need to hire a specialist or anybody. You're like this, somebody you could assign this to the person that's not that busy. It could be an ops person, it could be an admin person, it could be a salesperson, right? Now, but this is only the beginning. So what's the next thing you want to do? Well, you go, gosh, all right, it can give me basic stuff, but it's not giving me the gray area stuff. Like I'm not understanding. Here's the second thing you can do. Now, this is step two. So let's just say, I'm going to go with this example, a simple 3-step example. It's not comprehensive. I'm trying to give you a simple example. So the first one, I'm just using what I got. Like anybody could do it. Now, you know what I'm going to do? This is where your data starts to be really important. And what a consultant would tell you is that as you approach the technology path, the first thing to do is audit what data you own. This is super important because data is the most valuable thing in the world. And so in this example of building a loan scenario desk or a product scenario desk, if you whatever your company is, you probably have some sort of product loan scenario desk, whether it's calling an underwriter or whatever. The question is, did you capture those conversations? And over time, you have thousands, if not tens of thousands of those conversations. And if you captured those conversations, what you can do, hey, John Riley, you're on. Thanks so much for watching. If you captured those conversations, you can upload all those conversations as test cases to teach your AI, right? And so now, oh my gosh, it really is becoming your AI. You've gone from just using, stuff that's common knowledge to stuff that's proprietary knowledge if you have that information, right? If you have that information. And so that's one of the things on your roadmap. Audit what data you own. I'm using a really simple example of loan scenarios. If you have a loan scenario desk, every single question that was asked them, every single answer that was given back, upload that into like whatever your AI is and start to teach it the nuance of how you do product selection. That's second, right? Now, about this time while you're in the second bucket is when you need to have an AI specialist on your team. Like when you've gone from just using stuff off the shelf to now you're trying to teach it your stuff, you're going to want an AI specialist. So that's step two. When you get in the second bucket, hire a technology person that can help be, the not the ambassador, but the manager of your AI or technology path. Okay, so you're starting to now give it your data. Great. Now it's starting to be pretty effective. And your technology specialist can pour in more and more data, more and more knowledge into it, and you probably have a pretty good, rules engine, loan scenario, loan guideline engine now. Didn't cost you a lot of money, wasn't really hard. Now, woohoo, you stepped into the future. You can now call it your company's AI. You can call it, Mortgage Ruler of the World, GBT, whatever your company name is, and whoo, and you can start bragging about it, and you can recruit to it, and you can just say, hey, I'm stepping into the future. The third thing, though, if you want to perfect it, is you'll probably need to hire an AI technology company. You need to hire them as consultants. And there was one of these companies or a couple of these companies at the AI Summit, and I'm just going to give you a really gross summary. I mean, just really fact napkin. They think that they can do about one sprint or one project every quarter, and that project will cost somewhere between $20,000 and $30,000. So that if you do step one and you do step two, you bring it to them to perfect it and optimize it on step three, and they can get it to market in about 90 days. And now you really have something unique and not that expensive, right? And so you can do, as a small company or a medium-sized company, you can probably do 4 of those sprints a year. The loan scenario one is the first one that people do by and large. You might use them to do technology, fulfillment, whatever, but that's a roadmap on how you start to roll out technology. Now, I appreciate whoever's online, like John. I appreciate you being online, and Belinda, I appreciate you being online. I know it's 5 o'clock. I am late to get out for my run. I wanted to get out before the sun came up, but we'll see. I hope you found this interesting. Join me for Technology Tuesdays going forward. I will be back tomorrow from this same spot from the Inman Connect conference, and I will share with you how it's going. I'm so curious what it's going to be like. So thanks so much. Have a great day today. I'll talk to you tomorrow.